Okay, nice.
Well, President Obama hammering away at his theme of economic inequality in tonight's State of the Union, and he plans to sign an executive order, we have learned, to boost the minimum wage for new federal contracts, going from $7.25 up to $10.10 an hour. His executive action will unilaterally raise that wage for any new contracts that are put in with federal workers. So that'll go to $10.10, as I said. I am joined now by Texas Senator John Cornyn. He is the Republican whip and member of the Budget Committee. Senator, good morning. Good to have you with us today.
Good to be with you.
So what do you expect to hear tonight?
Well, the problems the president has are twofold. One is a crisis of credibility, and the other is a crisis of competence. And he's decided, rather than to lead, to play small ball and to do things that he said himself you can't do in a system of separation of powers and under our constitutional system. You got to work with the Congress, the executive branch does, to get things done. But he seemed to have given up on that and says, I'm going to go it alone. But the truth is there's not much he can do other than the sort of the superficial sorts of actions like you've already mentioned, like raising the minimum wage for certain federal workers.
Well, you know, I imagine what he would say to that is that the White House has tried every which way to work with Republicans, and that Republicans have stonewalled every effort that the president has made. I mean, that would clearly be the response.
Well, they might say that, but again, that's the biggest problem the White House has now. People don't believe them anymore after the president promised that if you like what you have, you can keep it when it comes to your health care, and the innumerable other promises have been made. But the reality is that Republicans have been willing to work with the White House and with Democrats in the Senate, but have simply been shut out of the process. The House has passed well over 100 different pieces of legislation that would help grow the economy and help put Americans back to work. Well, but Harry Reid and the White House has shut those down.
Let me ask you this, because I think, you know, so much of the conversation around the State of the Union tonight centers on, you know, small ball, as you just said, and that people are not expecting, you know, really very many new initiatives or things to be announced, but that the one sort of reality check that could come about, and I don't think anybody thinks it will, but I want to see what you would do, is if the president said that he genuinely wanted to sit down with people like you and your colleagues and come up with a way to make fixes, because he has said time and time again, if you've got a better way, if you've got ideas to make, you know, this health care law work better, I'm open to hearing them.
Well, he says a lot of things, and the actions don't follow the words. We've been offering alternatives since 2009. And just yesterday, a number of my colleagues, Senator Hatch, Senator Burr, Senator Coburn, offered another alternative. And the truth is there are many different options, but the president's so invested in ObamaCare, which is now proving to be an epic failure. And we're going to be there at the table with Democrats and the president, if he will, to try to fix the problem. But the fact is we need to dismantle Obamacare and then replace it with patient-centered alternatives, of which there are many to choose from.
Would you be willing to sit down with him and the other senators that we just put up on the screen if he said, please come to the White House, let's talk about it? Or would you say, you know, only if you say that you're not willing to dismantle, because that's what we want? I mean, that sounds like a marker that would not be something open to negotiation.
Well, you don't turn the president down if he invites you to the White House to talk, and I certainly wouldn't either. But we would be happy to talk, but unfortunately, so far we've been met with nothing but a stiff arm and no response. So in addition to slow economic growth, which is creating really the cancer which is eating away at our economy, which is high unemployment, a lot of people giving up, the president proposes to raise the minimum wage and extend long-term unemployment coverage for people who are out of work.
And I know
when he's treating the symptom and not the underlying problem.
Yeah, I just want to put up this poll because I thought this was pretty stunning. And this is the backdrop that the president walks out in front of tonight. The question was, it was a Wall Street Journal NBC poll. What one or two words best describe the State of the Union? And he will walk out most likely and say the State of the Union is sound, as they typically do. But these folks answered with divided, 37%, troubled, 23%, deteriorating, 21%. And then, you know, recovering comes next. But those top three, divided, troubled, deteriorating, that's a grim picture, Senator.
Well, it's pretty ugly. And I think it's because of a failure of leadership. We've always had divided government and done big things. Ronald Reagan and Tip O'Neill, Bill Clinton, and Republican majorities in the House and the Senate had the last balanced budget. We could work together, but this president seems to have this idea of going it alone, not engaging with Congress, not actually rolling up his sleeves and doing the job he was elected to do. He can give a whale of a speech, but when it comes to the follow-through, he comes up wanting.
We'll see what we hear tonight. Senator, thank you very much for being with us today. Always good to see you.
Thank you. Thank you, Martha.